Hello, everybody. Green Effect Podcast, Season 3, Episode 36. Back to the solo gig for this week, but that's okay because I have a ton of stuff to go through. This past week has not been boring in any way, shape, or form. So you're going to see, as I've always said, you're going to see my head swivel everywhere. For those of you watching on video, because I'm reading off notes and other stuff, because I've got all these monitors going so I can make sure I give you guys an update as to what the hell's going on out there. Man, what crazy week. Yeah, obviously the Bank of Canada. It seems that the Bank of Canada announcements have become a thing. Like, guys, I did a live video on Instagram leading up to it. Okay, like it's just become this thing that everybody just stops, holds their breath, and then sees what happens. That's what I did. I had a live video, I had a few people on, I dropped it at the very last second. So I wasn't expecting, thousands of people to listen. We had some people on for sure. If you want to see how that all went, go to my Instagram story feed, whatever. It's there. It's like, I think it was like 20 minutes long, but anyway, it's there for you to enjoy, we'll say. And yeah, it's just become this thing. And, you know, as the economy kind of changes right now or evolves in this post-pandemic pile of mud, which for the people who listen to this show on a regular basis will understand what I just said is pretty tame. We'll say pile of mud for now. uh, just very differing opinions. And, I tell people don't just look at the rate and be like, hey, no problem, it's all good. You gotta read the comments. For those of you who are a little bit older, we used to have the same term for something else. Don't just look at the pictures, read the articles, okay? Kind of the same thing for the Bank of Canada announcement, if I can make that creepy comparison. Anyway, yeah, Bank of Canada held the prime lending rate at 5%. As most of you probably know, that's only a part of the equation whereby they've got their rate and then the banks will have their prime lending rate themselves, which is always higher. So anyway, stayed at 5% for now, but let's just dig into what actually has happened. Okay, so it's always nice to give it a couple of days to see how the markets react, how bond markets react, what the commentary is, and really break it down a little bit. So if I can comment on a few things that came out directly from the Bank of Canada. Let's start with, and I'm sorry, I don't have her name right here. By the time I look it up, it'll be a few minutes. But I believe she's the deputy head of Bank of Canada. I can picture her the whole bit. I just can't. Her name is not coming off out right away. Anyway, I posted this on Instagram on Saturday, October 28th. And she basically commented, and this is super important. This is why you listen or you read the articles, okay, or the comments. She basically said that, look, we've done our job with rates. And she said we don't think rates are really the housing issue right now. We don't. She basically said that the housing issue is housing. Okay? There's just the supply and demand issue. So she basically said the Bank of Canada is aware of it. They are watching it, but they can't control the lack of housing in this country relative to the number of people that are here. Okay. And again, I've definitely paraphrased that, but that's interesting to hear from the Bank of Canada because if they've kind of resigned themselves to that, then that tells me, I don't know, my humble opinion, they're going to be looking at that kind of side eye a little bit and just see how it all progresses. But if things get worse, again, they have one weapon in their belt, and that's the rate, right, that they can move. The other comment that was made from Tiff Macklin, don't worry, I know his name, Tiffy Boy, okay, who has kind of come out. It's so weird, and I'm gonna I'm gonna quote this article because it's interesting. He's gone from the bad guy to still the bad guy for sure, because I think he's a big part of why we're into this mess. But he's definitely pared back his comments. Okay. So don't forget, this is the same guy back in 2020, once COVID broke. He basically told, and this has been well publicized, he basically told Canadians, look, rates are going to be low for years. Go knock yourself out, spend yourself silly, do what you got to do. Okay. That's how we all read it to happen. or to believe. Well, now he's really pared back his comments. So, first of all, his comment relative to rates was, quote, when we start to see clear evidence that we're on a path back to 2% inflation, that's when we can start to have the discussion about lowering rates. We're at 3. We can't, yeah, we broke 3% down to 2.8 for a one-off month, but that's it. That's not, I've said this on my previous podcast. That is not a pattern. That just happened one month. Okay. Here's the comment where he's paring back. I understand exactly how people are feeling, but I also don't want to give them false precision. So I don't know if that's a typo by the CBC, false precision. Maybe that is right grammar. Doesn't come off right, but he's basically saying, I get it, which I don't think he understands. There's an important difference between understanding what's going on and sympathizing. Okay, I think sympathizing is a much better word because there's no way that guy understands. There's no way. We've all seen his bonus. There's no way he understands anything that people are going through. But when he doesn't want to give false precision, again, I think that's a typo on CPC. I'll say false perception, maybe. He's basically saying, I ain't saying a damn thing anymore. I already screwed that up a few years ago. I ain't telling you guys nothing. And again, that's bad grammar on my part, but let's call it what it is. So, again, important to read between the lines as to what they're actually really saying here, not just looking at the rate itself. Okay? Now, I know what Tip Macklin said, fine. But every major economist with every major bank right now is basically saying 2024. And listen, we're in a recession. I don't care what people say. We are in a recession. We're there. Nothing's growing. People are not spending money, and rightfully so, right? People are getting pissed off over 18% tips. Nobody complained about that during COVID, and I understand. People were trying to help people. I get that. But, I mean, now people get irritated over that, right? So, when are rates going to come down? Like I said, I think every major economist is saying, honestly, I think we're looking at mid to end of 2024. This is going to get worse before it gets better. And when it does, that's when I think they're going to have to say, holy shit, we got to drop this a little bit. Like, I think it's very, very simple. I think we're just going to see it go to an extreme. And let's not kid ourselves, folks. These rate increases have not gone through the system all completely yet. Okay. They are still funneling through. So I'm suggesting that's probably what we're going to see is like mid to late 2024, which hopefully will be just in time for when all these other mortgages come up for renewal. And listen, we're not going to see 2% again. So if you think we're going to see 2%, like I said, I got some magic beans I can sell you, but if we get down to like 4, a rate sale at maybe, 379, I think that's good. I think that's a good place to be. That balances the ship out a little bit. Now let's just have a look at the bond market. I just want to see what happened there. So bonds are down as well. So remember, Canadian 5-year government bonds is really what generates or controls, not controls, but it's really how the fixed rate mortgage rates move in Canada. So they're definitely down. If I can look at the last 5 days, I know when Bank of Canada did their announcement, it spiked and then dropped drastically into Thursday. So we'll see what happens with this. Honestly, I think we're gonna have to start to see some rate drops. Like we have stifled the ship. It has stalled. And when your country has so much immigration that there's nowhere to put people, and rents are going through the roof, something's got to give. Like, this can't keep going on like this. We are going to have a lot of issues if it does. So something's got to give. We'll see what happens, but something will definitely follow as time progresses here. Okay, so what would a podcast be without me slamming JT and Disney Plus lady? Like, there's a term, and I'll give full credit to, if anyone ever listened to Primetime Sports with Bob McCowan, totally taking a quote out of his book a little bit here. Like, these guys would screw up a one-man parade. Let's call it what it is. But man, damage control, eh? JT is on the damage control path right now. So just hot off the press, I think it just happened a day or two ago. This carbon tax has been a thing, right? This carbon tax that the Liberal government has come out with has basically been Pierre Poilievre's like um, media center, okay? And so, on the topic of trying to get some votes back after they screwed the Maritimers, they've now come out and said we are going to exempt home heating oil from the carbon tax for 3 years. And he's like, get a heat pump, man. Like, get rid of the oil, right? So let's call this what it is, friends. He's just, now we're backtracking. And I think there's going to be a lot of backtracking. I think he's got a private line to Kathleen Wynne as to what she had to do to try to buy votes. And I honestly think that's what's going to happen here. Politician going to be politicianing. Write that down. That's good. Politician going to be politicianing. All right, leading up for the next couple of years, because I know he ain't. I gotta stop using ain't. But it's a term that I use when I'm trying to illustrate lack of intelligence, maybe. Ain't. There's gonna be a lot of this leading up, and there ain't gonna be an election for a while. Okay, so I think we're just gonna see a lot of this from the Liberal government. Half-ass housing stuff coming out, like we're gonna build 100 houses. Awesome. Who's excited, right? Meanwhile, you got Pierre Poilievre, who has come across, and folks, I'm not trying to say PC is awesome, NDP is awesome. I mean, I never said liberals are awesome, they suck, fine, whatever. What I'm trying to what I'm trying to illustrate here is the politicians again being politician-y. There's another term you can write down. You got Pierre Poilievre, he's eating an apple, basically telling a reporter to go fuck themselves. It's awesome. I love it, right? But he is starting to cement himself into the psyche of Canadians as the everyday guy because he's just calling bullshit. Too bad, right? And this is going to keep going on. This is going to be the next few years, right? If nothing else, it's entertaining. Like that Apple scene. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I'm pretty sure if you search for his name, Apple, okay, um, this reporter just asks him gibberish questions, and he just calls bullshit. He says, "This is stupid. Why are you asking me these questions?" Look it up. It's awesome. And again, I'm not trying to promote PC, NDP, whatever. I'm just trying to illustrate the political nonsense that's going on and how the PC and Pierre they're winning over the hearts of Canadians because he's talking common sense to them. So anyway, vote for whoever you want to, but I just wanted to illustrate what the heck's going on there. Okay, another stat, and damned if I can't find it on my screen somewhere, but it's going to be out on my social media, I think, this week. Household debt way down. So let me explain this. Household debt consists of mortgages, okay, mortgages, HELOCs, unsecured debt, and then consumer loans. Okay, and I might be off a little bit there. I apologize. Had it in front of me and it's gone. Let me just see if I can break that down. Give me 2 seconds. I'll see if I can find it. This is kind of the cool thing about being in front of your computer the whole time. You can just pull things up as needed. That's not it. That's a whole other problem I just pulled up. Those of you who are watching on video. No, I can't find it. It's fine. It's all good. So basically, what this means is household debt's coming down. This is actually really, really important. So if overall mortgage amounts are down, that means people aren't getting mortgages. Duh, right? So the less mortgages, the less debt. But what's also happening is there's less loans, there's less lines of credit. That means a slowing economy. If you're not going out and getting the shiny brand new car, with a big, huge loan, and of course they amortize it out over 10 years or whatever the hell they do, that means the economy is slowing, right? Unsecured debt going down. Again, people are probably not getting credit products. I always tell the story of my unemployed wife, and not unemployed by choice, believe me, but my unemployed wife getting pre-approved automatically for a $20,000 line of credit. So the banks are not giving away money like it's going out of style and people aren't taking it. Yes, I think people are absolutely using their debt or their available credit to make ends meet, but they're not getting new debt. Again, slowing economy. Tiffy Boy, I know those guys up there are watching these numbers, right? I'm sure Tiffy Boy is listening to my podcast right now as we speak. Doubt it, but maybe. So I know he hears this stuff. I know obviously the Bank of Canada has tremendous numbers in front of them, okay? But that's an important one. If household debt's going way down, that means things are just slowing down. I've already said it. It's like slowing to a halt, right? I'm always asked this question too, by the way. Is it a good time to buy a house? Listen, I don't want to sound too gimmicky with you, but after all these years, let me just illustrate this, or let me just explain this. It's not that there's a good time to buy or a bad time to buy. Because I'll tell you right now, you talk to people, even through the boom, there's always a problem, right? House prices are too high, can't get a condition, rates are too high, nothing good out there. There's always an excuse. Here's my comment. If you can afford, if you are in the position to afford a home, buy a damn home. Like, seriously. And I'm not saying that to be like, quick, go out and run out and buy a house now. It's a good time to buy. It's not what I'm saying. If you can afford it, get it. I think I mentioned this on a previous podcast. There was a week recently, I had like 3 different couples. They were all pre-approved a few months ago to buy something, right? They waited too long, okay? And there were some personal things, whatever, fair enough, right? But now they can't afford what they want at all, period. Like, at all. They can't, right? So this is where, if you can afford it, go buy something. If you can't afford it, that's okay. No big deal, right? But if you can afford something, go buy something. Like, seriously, like you may as well. We use the term, what is it? Marry your house, date your rate. Like, seriously, the rates are always going to be the rates. But if you can afford a house, buy a house if it makes sense. If you're emotionally ready, go buy a house. All right, what other problems do we have here? Let's see. You know what? I really haven't come up. It's tough to come up with, oh my God, this is such good news. It's really, really tough to come up with that. So, all right, what else am I reading here? So, this one is, I love this article. So Canada can't double its housing output, and rate hike impact still coming. So we already talked about the rate hike impact still coming, but Canada's not going to be able to match their housing. This is why I keep saying I don't think houses are going to go up and down the value. I just don't think we're going to have a crash. We have too many people here. And they're going to drop rates before they let this thing get too out of hand. It'll be interesting to see. What was the other thing I wanted to mention? Yeah. Oh, this is actually kind of important as well. So, Bank of Canada, another comment that they made in their outlook. I mentioned this recently. They basically said we thought inflation would be down by now, and they did. If you look back to previous podcasts, social media posts that I put up, Bank of Canada said they expected inflation to be under control by the end of this year. Not going to happen. Now they have increased their outlook for inflation to be higher for longer, to the end of 2024, 2025. This is important because this is going to dictate how they respond, with rates not increasing, not decreasing. I think they're just going to stay steady for a while and see what happens. We might see an increase in like I've already said on this podcast, we might see a decrease mid 2024 if shit gets out of hand. Right now, the outlook, though, and don't think I'm contradicting myself. The outlook is to keep rates the same for longer, but they might be forced into dropping the rates, just to be clear on this, in 2024 to basically save the ship a little bit. Okay. So that is what my comments are. I'm going to stop there. That's kind of a summary of what's happened. Continue to follow me on social media as this stuff develops. Really important to stay on top of things because, man, you stay on top of things, then it changes. Like, it's kind of nuts that way. All right, that's enough for today. Any questions, you all know where to find me. Don't forget, 5-star review, like me, love me, follow me, want me, desire me, whatever. And keep fit, have fun.